Hello, learners. Welcome to the next session of Business Transformation and Organizational Turnaround. Today, we're going to look at business strategies with regards to market research and how market research can help in business turnaround. Before that, I'll just do a recap of where we had left last time. We had discussed regarding design thinking, right? So when we look at design thinking, how do we put it into practice through market research is what we'll be looking at today. That's the link, right? So please give me a moment. I'll just share my last PPT with you. Yeah, this is visible. So just a quick recap. What we had discussed was um, business thinking as a, sorry, design thinking as a strategy for bringing about transformation in the business. Here, in design thinking, the central idea or the paradigm of thought, the way you think in design thinking, is by empathizing. Empathize with the users. Who are the people who are going to use this technology, product, service, whatever that, or our business, right? Um, Once we understand who these people are, how they will use this product, then we come up with sustainable solutions. We're able to tell them as to in a sustainable way, we are able to give them solutions. Right? That's a better way of putting it. Right? So design thinking begins with empathizing with users. This involves understanding their diverse perspectives, needs, and preferences. Right? So we have inclusive fashion, inclusive buildings, right? And I had given the example of architecture, where a building has been designed, a school for the blind people, partially and fully blind students, and how it's designed in a way that it appeals to senses other than that of sight, right? So they can smell different parts of the building, they can hear the echo in different parts of the building. And with that, students can navigate very easily in this school, right? Also, it gives them a feeling that school is not just about basic singing and some skills that traditionally we've been imparting to um, students who are visually impaired, but it widens their horizon. They feel privileged, they feel happy, right? So this is the feeling that we want to evoke in our consumers in order to have sustainable businesses, right? So design thinking starts with empathizing and um, it moves towards sustainable businesses, right? The second stage is where we define the problem with clarity. This is quite like starting a research project. I'm going to talk about market research today. Without clearly defining what the problem is and without clearly defining for whom we're trying to find the solution, uh, we'll not be able to, we'll have an error in the final output. So we have to spend a lot of time in zeroing down whom we are designing something for, right? From there starts the design process where we ideate creative solutions. Design thinking encourages divergent thinking to generate a wide range of creative solutions for the problem that was defined. For example, in the context of inclusive fashion, designers can brainstorm ideas such as adjustable clothing with adjustable features to accommodate different body sizes and shapes, specifically for children, right? For growing children, these sustainable fashion can be designed for them. The fourth is you create a prototype. And today there is enough and more technology to create prototypes, right? And with this comes to us from a very agile mindset that the moment we understand the kind of product that we need to create, we create a prototype, get an approval, do a pilot survey in the market, and from there move on, right? So prototyping and testing allows designers to gather feedback early and often refining their ideas based on user insights. A sustainable footwear company can create prototypes using eco-friendly materials such as recycled rubber, plant-based fibers, etc. And further, it feeds into the idea of sustainability because it's sustainability not just in terms of ecology, sustainability in terms of the business model, right? So what have we as key terms here? Empathize with the user, clearly define the problem, be agile in your thinking, create prototyping, and move towards sustainability. Be in business for long, create wealth for the society and the business. Fifth stage is incorporate stylish aesthetics, right? Here, a classic case study is that of design versus aesthetics when we talk of Crocs, the brand of slippers, the footwear. Crocs was designed basically for for fishermen. These were rubber, or first actually they came from clogs, which were wooden. From there it moved to Crocs, and the idea was then usurped by American companies. And from there, American companies actually got, for a while, they got a bad name that they're only um, emphasizing on functionality, not on aesthetics, right? And that's where Nike comes into the picture and they start designing Air Jordans, right? Where a lot of emphasis was given on, even Adidas, a lot of emphasis on designing aesthetics, right? As opposed to Crocs. Now, the market is divided. A lot of times when we discuss this case is where a lot of students tell me that, we like Crocs. I mean, what's bad with it, right? But it is again a generational or a cultural element of aesthetics because children who are born using Crocs, like, they grow up with Crocs. For them, that is, the idea of comfort and design and fashion, right? It's the idea of catch them young. But for people who come from a different genre, a different era, let's say Gen Zs or even baby boomers, for them, it's a leather shoe with a pointed toe, all of that, those are aesthetics. So, how do you create something in your design which is aesthetically pleasing to multiple audiences, right? So at each stage, we are going back and forth and we are looking at design, sustainability, empathizing with the consumer, etc. Ensure tangible benefits. Products must offer tangible benefits. So sometimes it's functionality, other times it's aesthetics, or maybe both. But it should convey an idea. It should convey an emotion. Even however abstract it may be, you should be able to pinpoint that there is an emotional benefit out of this because that helps, um, in establishing a brand story, right? And we look at that when we look at the Nivea case study today. Prioritize sustainability throughout the life cycle. And that's one of the reasons we do prototyping and we don't go for full production because prototyping helps you to make changes with very little wastage, right? So this is where we had stopped last time with design thinking. Just give me a moment. I'll just share a little video showcasing the case study for Crocs.
These are Crocs, and a lot of people think they're really ugly. People who love to hate Crocs had cause to celebrate in 2008 when investors were writing the company off as a passing fad. Crocs lost over $185 million that year and cut about 2,000 jobs. The stock plunged to just over $1 a share, from a high of about $69 a year earlier. But over the next decade, Crocs would go on to sell over 700 million pairs of shoes worldwide. Recently, the clogs have been strutting down runways at luxury fashion shows. Celebrities like Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and Post Malone are wearing the shoes. It's a top brand among Gen Z, and limited edition Crocs are selling for hundreds of dollars on the resale market. Crocs have become a collector's item.
I have 2 Croc backpacks, 20 pairs of Crocs, 5 shirts, and then my laptop is filled with Croc stickers.
Here's how Crocs came back from the dead and turned a widely mocked shoe into a cultural icon. Crocs start at about $35 and were originally designed as a comfortable shoe for boating. 3 friends, Scott Siemens, George Bodecker, and Lyndon Hansen, came up with the idea while sailing in the Caribbean. Siemens was wearing a slip and odor-resistant clog, made by a Canadian company called Foam Creations. Bodecker and Hansen thought they were ugly, but were sold on their functionality. They licensed Foam Creations' foam resin technology, called it Croslite, and developed the Croc. Crocs later acquired Foam Creations in 2004. The shoes debuted at the 2002 Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show and were an immediate hit. Annual revenue jumped from $24,000 in 2002 to over $108 million in 2005. In 2006, Crocs raised over $200 million in its IPO, the biggest in shoe history. In 2007, Crocs had its most profitable year in business, raking in over $168 million. The stock hit its all-time high of about $69 a share.
So back then, the brand was incredibly hot. It was growing strong double digits. In some quarters, it was growing triple digits. So it was one of the hottest growth stocks. People bought into it.
I'm about to try Crocs on for the first time in my life, something I've avoided so far because they're so ugly. These are actually so lightweight and comfortable. I feel like I'm not even wearing shoes. It's no wonder parents, kids, hospital, and restaurant workers sought them out for their comfort and functionality. But their distinct style evoked strong feelings. The public, it seemed, either loved or hated them.
When I first saw Crocs, I actually did vehemently hate them. Like, I thought they were just completely ugly. I was like, what excuse does anyone have for wearing these ugly shoes?
Tyson Chitundu was working on a food truck one summer, and their feet were killing them at the end of each day. So they set their pride aside and bought a pair of Crocs. The shoes were so comfortable, they started wearing them to work, class, parties, and even the club.
Like, I'm here in a pair of Crocs and I'm having a blast because I'm not anxious to go home because my feet hurt. When I show up somewhere in Crocs, like, it is very evident that, like, I'm not too concerned with any social hierarchy that's going on. This is how I dress, this is what makes me comfortable, and that's all I care about.
Because of its vocal community of haters, Crocs have unwittingly become a statement shoe. What the clogs have come to represent has played a large role in the company's success. To Tyson Chitundu, wearing Crocs is a symbol of embracing their individuality, rather than conforming to conventional ideals about fashion and beauty, something they struggled with growing up.
It did come from a place of ignorance, my, like, deep hatred of Crocs, because I was like, they're different and they're ugly, so I hate them.
Tata IPL, KKR versus RCB. March 22 ಸಂಜೆ 5:30ಕ್ಕೆ ಜಿಯೋ ಹಾಟ್‌ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ನೆಟ್ವರ್ಕ್ನಲ್ಲಿ.
But by 2008, many had condemned Crocs as a passing fad. The company had to somehow convince a wider audience that its shoes weren't just about function, but about fashion, and that it's fashionable to put comfort first. But the company took some wrong turns along the way, and by 2008, the bear outlook on Crocs was gaining steam.
So back in 2007 and 2008, when the brand had hit its peak and really was coming off the rails very quickly, it was something that we heard very commonly from investors that Crocs was a fad and it was a trend.
To keep up with demand, the company grew in an unruly fashion. It expanded into too many product lines, distribution channels, and markets worldwide. Then came the 2008 recession. The company had expanded into over 5,000 SKUs and was saddled with excess inventory. Crocs of all kinds weren't selling. Crocs lost over $185 million in 2008. The stock is just over $1 a share.
They grew very fast, but it was not sustainable. They had over 2 years of excess inventory that they had to work through.
Experts say Crocs fell into a common pitfall for young companies, trying to be all things to all people. Over the next several years, Crocs worked on narrowing its focus.
We need to focus from a product perspective, really get focused back on our core molded heritage, get focused on some new key products. Said we're extended into about 90 countries across the globe. There are 5 that really matter.
The company closed underperforming stores, cleaned up its distribution network, reduced and cut its product offerings by about 80%. And it doubled down on what the company is known for: its clog.
Crocs staging a huge comeback, once left for dead. Company famous for its distinct clogs is on fire.
So we went back to what we're good at, right?
What Crocs is good at is making a super comfortable clog. In 2019, its clogs accounted for more than 60% of sales. Those shoes became extremely relevant as consumer preferences were changing. Experts say Crocs helped usher in the athleisure and ugly fashion movements that took off around 2017. Athleisure refers to comfortable clothes worn for exercising and general use. Ugly fashion is all about defying conventional standards of beauty.
The ugly fashion trend, that brought in a huge moment for consumers to say, I can decide how it is that I want to pull this outfit together and what is important to me and what I feel good in and how I want to express myself.
Crocs doubled down on innovating around the clog, making it a trendy statement shoe that stood for self-expression and individuality.
It's a statement of going against the norm, something that we considered to be solely built around function can actually be transformed into a fashion statement.
Crocs took a cue from hypebeast culture and began collaborating with celebrities, designers, and other brands to drop limited edition clogs. Since 2017, Crocs has released dozens of limited edition clogs in collaboration with the likes of Balenciaga, Christopher Kane, Kiss, KFC, and Peeps. Some of those collaborations have sold out in minutes. Crocs designed by Post Malone are now reselling on StockX for up to $1,000.
I'll honestly buy whatever Crocs drops, so they could drop ones that are super ugly and I'll still wait in line and buy them. Because I think it's so fun that you own the pair that nobody else has.
Oh, I think that they have been adopting strategies like a Supreme, even like a Vans, like a Nike, where it's all about the drop. I mean, it's really a page in the luxury brands, right? You want things scarce, you want it unattainable, it creates demand.
Crocs achieved record revenues of over $1.23 billion in 2019. The company sold over 67 million shoes worldwide. In December 2019, the stock was up nearly 500% since the beginning of 2017. Revenue growth accelerated as collaborations helped to captivate an entirely new generation of customers, many of whom hadn't worn Crocs since they were little kids. Gen Z.
So they're an incredibly important consumer because they influence people and they bring more people to the brand.
So currently I have about 20 pairs of Crocs.
I own 8 pairs of Crocs.
I have 13 pairs of Crocs. I wear my Crocs like pretty much everywhere. I wore them to homecoming.
Jenna Wilkinson got made fun of for wearing Crocs as a middle school student. By the time she got to high school, Crocs were officially trending. They were a shoe of choice for the Visco girl look, a comfortable and viral style of dress that took off on the photo editing app Visco. In spring 2020, Crocs has risen to the 12th most popular footwear brand among teens. Crocs attributes some of that success to its removable charms business, Jibbitz, which allows consumers to personalize their clogs.
The personalization is very, very important. It's a global megatrend, right? So across the globe, that younger consumer wants to be able to turn a generic purchase into a personal purchase and tell a story.
In 2020, Crocs is preparing to weather an economic downturn caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. First quarter 2020 revenues were down 5% from the same period in 2019, in light of store closures and reduced sales due to the pandemic. But experts say Crocs is in a much stronger position to weather a recession in 2020 than it was in 2008. The company has over $100 million in cash and a core product that's much more than just a shoe.
Fine. So from here, we move on to understanding how brands like Crocs, make a turnaround. What is it that makes them a cult brand with the Gen Zs? Because Gen X, like I was saying, Gen X and baby boomers would hate this, kind of shoe, this design. But even they start liking it when once they start wearing it, and what all uh, strategies Crocs has adopted to bounce back to business. So let's look at those transformations through understanding of market research. So market research is crucial for informed strategy adoption, offering insights into market dynamics, customer preferences, and competitive landscapes. By analyzing consumer behavior, businesses can identify emerging trends, unmet needs, and potential opportunities. So this basically becomes a data-driven approach or a market research approach where it's not your opinion versus mine. It's based upon evidence, empirical evidence from the market. So this approach allows organizations to tailor their strategies to target specific segments more effectively, ensuring product and service has relevance and sustainability. Additionally, understanding the competitive environment helps in differentiating offerings, thereby enhancing market positioning. Market research. Market research also reduces risks, just like I was talking of prototyping. Likewise, market research before prototyping helps you to reduce the risk even further. Why? Because it identifies potential challenges early on, enables for proactive adjustments to strategies. So, in a rapidly changing business environment, leveraging accurate market insights supports agile decision making and long term growth, making market research an indispensable tool for strategic planning and execution. Now, to understand this, I have a case study of Nivea. Nivea, as you know, is one of it's a moisturizing cream. It's what is known for it's in the beauty industry. It's a German company, but they wanted to get into the deodorant market, right? So for the longest time, we had seen Nivea like a blue tin of very thick cream, which was used in winter, specifically North India, if I'm talking about India, or in very, very cold climates, dry climates. Then they had ventured into making it a soft cream, and then a generic cream. And from there, they wanted to now diversify into deodorants, more specifically, roll on deodorants. So, to do that, what did uh, Nivea have to do? Right? Let's look at the facts of the case. International business by Zadov has a clear goal to be as close as possible to consumers, regardless of which country they are in. So Beiersdorf is the parent company that holds Nivea. Developing superior consumer insights is fundamental to the continued future success of Beiersdorf and its international brands like Nivea, Eucerin, and Atrixo. These are the result of more than 120 years of experience in research development. Beiersdorf has launched many new brands and products into a variety of countries and categories. Being an innovative leader has allowed Beiersdorf actively to shape its markets and set new trends. These product launches have led to long-term global growth. Beiersdorf's international market research team is based at company headquarters in Hamburg in Germany. Market research is a global organization. Market research in a global organization needs to help and support the company's overseas affiliate companies, brands, and it needs to look at different cultures, gender, races, uh, rituals, climate, etc. So most affiliate companies in the UK, for example, have dedicated research managers. They help the central research team in gathering and interpreting consumer reviews. These views provide information or insights that ultimately result in the development of new products which are suitable for a global market. So, this case study follows the development of a new product, the new Nivea deodorant called Pearl and Beauty, which was targeted at young women. So this case study will give a clear-cut picture on how market research has helped new product development across countries. So across different markets, across countries, consumers are different in terms of culture and lifestyle. Like I said, they're also different because of culture. They are different in terms of their rituals, morals, ethics, laws, um, uh, also religion, right? And basically, culture is a give and take between all of this, right? So culture emanates from the local region. It becomes culture, and then it resonates, right? It creates its rituals, which are based upon, let's say, weather or and we start thinking of culture as being the more naturalized form of um, consumer decision making or morals, etc., motivation, perception, stereotyping, etc. Right? Whereas it's external factors that impact how cultures are actually shaped and why something is a cultural artifact or a cultural practice or why eventually it becomes a lifestyle. Right? So with all of this, market research is done both uh, quantitative and qualitative. Usually, quantitative gives you numbers and stats. It allows you to have mathematical calculations done on it, statistical tools applied to it. Whereas qualitative research it helps you to get insights regarding culture, for instance, regarding people, genders, right? And why something is a part of culture. The why, the critical question, is answered by qualitative research, right? But this here focuses on primary and secondary research, and we're going to look at how research was carried out by Nivea to arrive at a communication plan for Nivea White Pearl and Beauty. So Nivea's challenge was to find similar insights from consumers across different countries, right? Similar insights from consumers across different countries, which is also to say that how do you think that the idea of clogs starts from Netherlands, right? It moves to America. It transcends genders and age gaps, age groups, and everyone loves it, right? So how do you create such a brand story, or how do you create one such personality of a brand that it resonates with everyone despite different cultures, right? So this is the task at hand. Of course, Nivea knows that everyone's different. We know that. But the challenge here in this case study is to find out how, despite being different, there is some similarity between consumers across countries and how then they can be targeted through the same product, maybe through different advertising. That's okay. But the product is homogeneous. It's a homogeneous product, just like Crocs, right? And that's why I was referring to design thinking and Crocs, the case study before I came into Nivea. So this was used to optimize product development. In this secondary research in the deodorant category, Nivea used many secondary research sources to discover consumers' views and their need for deodorants. These related to different markets and were supplied by local country market researchers. These included a consumer usage attitude study, right? Usage attitude study. It's important to study how a product is used. It can be the same product can be used in different cultures differently for different things, right? Because we have that classic joke that in Punjab you use top loading washing machines to make lassi. That's the amount of lassi that's consumed, right? So that was LG was selling it to the dhabas, restaurants, because you need such a big mixer. So how does a consumer use your product can vary from culture to culture, right? So about Indians, like we say that we like to buy stuff and then the bags that we get, especially polythene bags or now paper bags, we store them. You know, in every household, there are mattresses on beds. Thank you. There are mattresses on beds under which we have stored our, packaging, old polythene bags, and other packaging material. Okay. This was even mentioned by Santosh Desai in his book called Mother Pious Lady. It's a book on Indian culture and how consumption rituals have been studied by marketers. And with that, how product development has been done and how it's being communicated then. Right? So from design thinking, we're moving to market research to understand culture and then create communication to tell a brand story. Right? So this is very interesting aspect when we study different types of cultures, and yet we have a homogenized product which we want to sell across different cultures. So the usage attitude study was the first one. In that, this was conducted a few years earlier across various markets in the UK, France, and USA. Second, an external study was conducted regarding the product attribute to study fragrances and preference for fragrances. Of course, we know it differs from between men and women, but can also differ from culture to culture. For instance, in India, and specifically in South India, camphor is considered an auspicious fragrance, right? Some people love the fragrance of jackfruit, the cut up jackfruit, because it's a superfood. People pray to this tree. It's considered a superfood, and hence they love the fragrance. For someone else who's not from the culture, it can be very nauseating because it's a very overwhelming fragrance, right? So, of course, when you're rolling out a deodorant, you want to study the sensitivity towards different fragrances across different cultures. And from that range of fragrances, you want to find out that one common fragrance which everyone will be okay with. That's the challenge. So, this covered the importance of scent and fragrance to people's well being and mood, right? A lot of people, while they use deodorants, there are a lot of cultures where fragrances are very important. For example, Middle Eastern countries or any such desert countries, right? There, the culture of fragrances, gifting fragrances, buying fragrances, developing fragrances, ether, it's a part of culture because water used to be in shortage and it was important to smell good. So fragrances were used to smell good throughout the day, right? Whereas other cultures, uh, applying artificial fragrances is considered bad, right? But now with the changing lifestyle, how do you tell women, because that is their target audience, that you need to smell good? You need to use deodorants, right? So one is usage and attitude of the product, and then usage and attitude towards fragrance. Now comes the primary research part. The research team felt, therefore, there was not enough recent knowledge about the consumer in the secondary research. They commissioned some primary qualitative research in key markets such as Germany, France, UK, and USA. This was aided by the local research manager. The aim was to understand the motivations for using deodorant amongst female consumers. The primary research was used when there was no existing data available to answer questions on usage of fragrance by women, what they like, what is their attitude towards it, and across different cultures, which are the common fragrances. So this basically helps researchers understand the beliefs and motivations of this group. Now, we have the word belief and motivation, right? Now, I must point out here that it comes to us from a study of consumer behavior, right? I'm sure consumer behavior has been studied. But when we look at consumer behavior, and consumer behavior we understand is the study of how consumers make decisions, that behavior, decision making behavior and purchase behavior or post purchase behavior. To understand that, we divide the discipline of consumer behavior into sociology and psychology, right? Under sociology, we study the culture of the consumer, culture, subculture, family, caste, creed, race, religion, peer values, right? Morals, ethics. That is studied in sociology. The other part that we divide consumer behavior is into psychology, where we try and understand how the cognitive process works, right? Cognitive process as in how does a consumer use past experiences, present data or information in order to make a decision, cognitive processes. Now, this cognitive process is based upon learning, right? If you remember, you studied Maslow's Pavlovian experiments, Ivan Pavlov's dog experiment, right? So, learning, how does learning work? How do you attach reward and punishment to learning? Which kind of learned behavior is rewarded, which is punished? Right? That's important here because you need to smell good. You get their rewards that accrue to it. Second is you understand motivation. Motivation, when you studied Maslow's need hierarchy theory and other kinds of motivation frameworks, this helps to understand how motivated is the consumer to use a certain product. If not, where are they stuck? How do you motivate them? It has a direct bearing on attitude formation or changing the attitude of the consumer while promoting the product or through communications. Right? So understanding motivation of the consumer and then beliefs. Beliefs, of course, comes from culture, ritual, morals, right? Um, Apart from motivation, in psychology, we also study attitude, right? Uh, Attitude formation from perception, right? So how do we perceive something? How do we then stereotype it and start believing uh, or create an attitude towards it? Now, if we understand consumer behavior, let's divide into two. The next stage is to create a model of consumer behavior and use it for communications for the 4 P's of marketing: product development, pricing, promotion, and placing the product in the market, retail, right? So for the promotions aspect, the 3rd P of marketing is where we look at attitude formation, attitude change, which results in a behavior. So we also talk of the AIDA model: attention, interest, desire, and action. When we get the attention of the consumer, we educate them or inform them about a product, and then we create an emotion around it and ask them to go and buy that product. Right? So this is the entire trajectory of where this case study is going. So women, they studied through primary research, cared increasingly about the condition of their underarms. Right? So studying about motivations and beliefs, one thing that clearly was understood by Nivea was the underarm area, which was problematic for women, working women, etc. They cared about it. They wanted to smell good, and yet they did not want to harm their skin in any way. And they looked at it as a beauty standard, that smelling good and having clean underarms was a mark of beauty, is considered a mark of beauty. Right? So it is very high motivation. They're highly motivated to have underarm hygiene. And that is where they found their gap in the market. Right? Now, once you find this, which is not targeted by any beauty brand, right? And there is need to capture this market. So you create a product, you create a story, and you market it accordingly. Right? So the results of the market research revealed an unexplored market potential for Nivea deodorant, specifically with underarm beauty. Right? Underarm beauty for the female consumer. This was their, this is how they had to start their design thinking. Now they had come to a targeted spot, quote unquote, where you can actually target your marketing, the 4 P's: product development, pricing, promotion, and retail. Right? So this would fit across different markets, and with current Nivea deodorant range, consumers showed a need for beautifying, caring deodorant. Right? So with this, a number of criteria were used to test the concept. Deodorant category performance measures. This included wetness, dryness, fragrance, and core benefits of the product, such as smelling good. Product attributes to the new of the new product were the core values of Nivea. The Pearl and Beauty product, of course, the name was also tested. Pearl and Beauty, right? This was tested because they wanted clean, bright underarms, not dark underarms. Pearl and Beauty, right? So the product needed to be relevant and motivate the consumer to purchase it. So they started testing the product. A D-branded roll-on, like without the name of Nivea, it was rolled into the market. Women had to try it on, and they had to try it for wetness or fragrance. And they were asked to suggest names, right? And the idea of a roll-on, right, that stuck very nicely. Why? Because this was a creamy kind of a liquid, semi-liquid, which was not harsh like applying a spray deodorant on your skin, on sensitive skin. So it was very gentle on the skin. That was a part of the product development. Second, product development that it's private. Underarm beauty is a private thing, yet it is something which it is kind of public and yet it's private, like public in the sense that you want to flaunt if you have great underarms. That's what the idea of was with the women. That's why they thought of it as a beauty standard. Otherwise, why would they? So when you're designing a product which is a roll-on and it's creamy, two things happened because of this product development. One is that this was easy on the skin. It was not harsh and tingling on the skin. And the second is it became dry after a while, which was very very comfortable, convenient. It lasted for the entire day because it was a thicker coat, not like a spray which just evaporates. And it would sell more. Why? Why would roll-on sell more? Because a spray deodorant can be used by multiple people in the family. A roll-on has to be individual. You cannot share a roll-on deodorant. Right? So it hits all the spots. And that's the reason Nivea deodorant, Pearl and Beauty, roll-on is a design thinking business turnaround strategy. Right? So let's look at a video of one of the officials from Nivea. Just give me a moment.
Program. Beiersdorf in India is most commonly associated with the brand Nivea, a brand that has made its presence felt in India for generations. Once more, many thanks for joining us here on the Global Dialogue. Appreciate your time. Let me start by asking you about your view and outlook on India. As I pointed out, for India, Beiersdorf essentially means Nivea. When can it mean more going forward?
It means Nivea since 1913. It was the first time when, we had a Nivea product which was sold in India. And since then, we have been building year after year a very strong presence in India. Nivea is the most trusted skincare brand for the fourth year and consecutive year. So really happy with the development of Nivea, but a lot to do. We are present in many product categories, but we are not present in the most important product category, which is face care, which is 60% of the total skincare market. And this is why I'm very happy to come today to India, because we are launching right now our first, Nivea face, products, specially designed for India, called Luminous, and I'm expecting a lot from this product.
Jain International Residency School is a concept, an idea, which I conceived 28 years before.
Well, that's great to hear on the Luminous launch, but if you can give us a little bit more color on what this new launch will specifically mean as far as you're concerned. What does it do for you in the India market? What are you hoping to do? Because it's a fairly competitive space, what will be the key differentiator that will drive you here in India?
It's very interesting to see that globally, you have 29% of the people who have an issue linked with hyperpigmentation. 29%. In India, it's 37%. And we are coming, with an ingredient which is called thiamidol that we launched in the globe, in the world in 2018, which is the best anti-spot ingredient in the world. We have been testing this ingredient over and over in all countries, and it's the most successful ever launch of Biosorb with Nivea. And we've been working in the last 2-3 years to develop a specific offer for India, using the same concentration that we have in the rest of the world in terms of efficacy, but having, a packaging, having a product which is affordable, because Nivea is affordable. Nivea is a value for money brand, and we didn't want to make the mistake that others have done to come at a price which was too high. So we have a very good price. It's 500 rupees, and you can find the product online, offline. And this is our first real entry into the face care market. So we're expecting a lot from the launch now with Nivea. We're also using the same ingredient, but with a different formula, different concentration for Eucerin, which is our Derma brand that we're introducing this week, in the Dermacon in India. So we have a lot of hope, linked to this hyperpigmentation consumer expectation, which is developing across the world and particularly in India.
You talked about your strategy for the face care market here in India, but what are the trends that you're picking up on specifically as far as the Indian consumer is concerned? And I want to link this to your outlook on China. I remember you said that if you can succeed in China, you can succeed anywhere globally. So how different is India as a market for you, and what do you eventually expect to do here in India?
I mean, that what is very interesting when you look at Indian consumers, they move, from a market of cold cream, face care cream, to a much more sophisticated offer. We're talking about serums, we're talking about ingredients, we're talking about efficacy, and we are surfing on this wave. We're coming with the know-how of Biosorb, which is ingredients. Everything is based on ingredients, so thiamidol, also soon epicelline on anti-age, and we're developing formula which are delivering a true efficacy. And you're right to mention China. China also is obviously a very important market for this hyperpigmentation area, and we were lucky enough in November to get the first ever anti-hyperpigmentation ingredient validated by the regulatory authorities. So this is the first ever. So we are also a lot of hope for China, but will become in 2026. So 2025, this is a year of India. We have a lot of hope in terms of growth for Nivea, the mother brand, but also the fact that over the next 4 months, we have already introduced Eucerin, but we'll come with La Prairie, which is the most luxury brand in the world, with Chantecaille, which is a very nice brand. So, in fact, between November 24 and June 2025, you will have the full portfolio of Biosorb launched in India, which proves, the importance of the Indian market for us, the fact that this is, the most strategic market we want to succeed in after, as I said, 20 years of, good build-up of the brand and good successes across the country.
Well, that's quite a statement, Bonsor, you made there, that 2025 is going to be the year of India as far as Biosorb is concerned. So again, give us more details on the strategy specifically that you intend to follow. You said that it will be both online and offline across different price points with different brands addressing those different price points. So what could that mean in terms of sales growth for you?
But today, India is already one of the top 10 countries for Biosorb. And we have only 2 brands. We have, of course, Nivea, we have also Hansaplast, so we are missing the 3 other big brands, which is the one we are launching in India right now. So obviously, we are in the top 10 today. I'm expecting India to be in the top 5 pretty quickly. We have a fantastic ecosystem. We have an R&D center in India. We have a factory in India. So that's one of the only country where we have the full, spectrum of activities. We have an extremely good team, with a strong leader. We've been also doing a pretty good job over the last 20 years. Often when you look at the history of a business, you see some mistakes, some failures. It's not the case for India. It was really a marathon. We've been growing every year. And now I think the fact that we are able to come with this new ingredient, and this is the first time we're coming with such a new ingredient with an offer which is designed for Indian consumers, is making us very optimistic because it's surfing on the wave of, sophistication of the market. It is clearly a big priority off and online. Online, we've been doubling the business since last year, and we have a fantastic, partnership with Nika, with a lot of e-commerce players. It's also about digitalization. We talk about influencer marketing. We are no longer doing the classical TV that we used to do in the past when I was myself in marketing. We are using influencers. We are using, digital media to talk to our audience. So I think all the things happening, in India, and particularly the fact that there is, this increase of the middle class, who wants to take care of their beauty, want to take care of their skin, is something which is a fantastic accelerator for us. I think we have never felt so ready for India that in 2025, and this is why we have this extreme dynamism in launching 3 brands, in 6 months.
Right, so, the full suite of your products soon to be launched here in India. But one saw, you were talking about digitalization and how that is now going to be driving growth for you. What about here in India specifically? You talked about your partnership with Nika, for instance. Give me the levers, the growth drivers for Biosdorf here in India that you intend to focus on.
I think what I did, perhaps simply, is to go back to the history of Biosdorf. It's very interesting to see that Biosdorf, already 140 years ago, invented modern skincare. We invented the value for money brand, which is Nivea. We invented also Derma, the first dermatologic brand, Eucerin, was created by Biosdorf. And then over the years, we lost a little bit this edge. We lost a little bit this focus. We were a bit too distracted by other product categories. So the first thing I've done is to say it's great to have a lot of product categories, but there is nothing more important than skincare. And the focus on skincare has been absolutely clear for each and every country, for every brand. The second element, I mentioned that to you in the beginning of the interview, the R&D engine. We are a fantastic team, of 1,000 researchers, some of them based in Mumbai, some of them in Hamburg, in Shanghai, in New Jersey, which have a fantastic know-how in skincare R&D. And I was able, to put more money, obviously, but also to strengthen the organization, to be sure that we get back to what we used to be, the motto of Biosdorf. We find extraordinary ingredients and we use them for our brands. So it used to be Thiamidol in 2018. You will hear soon about Epicelline, an anti-age ingredient that we're launching right now, which is a fantastic, anti-age ingredient. We have other things coming in acne also. And acne is a very interesting story for Indian. That 70% of Indian people have an issue with acne, while globally it's 40%. So you imagine also the potential also for a company like us to enter this market. So back to ingredient, and last but not least, an appetite for growth, an appetite for entering white spaces, and India was a white space. We were good with some product categories, but with only a few brands, So being more daring, bolder in entering China, India, even the US, Africa, where, we have some business, but we are not as big as we should be. And I think this recipe, is working pretty well. We are in a very dynamic market. Also, the beauty market is a great market. In bad years, you grow 4%. In good years, you grow up to 6%. We've been able to overperform the market and all our competitors in 23, in 24. Hopefully, in the last quarter, we'll see soon the results of our competitors. But there is clearly a new growth appetite for this company with brands which are, as you mentioned in the beginning, super well known and super respected by consumers. So that makes a pretty successful recipe for us, and this is why we are pretty successful in 24, in 23, and hopefully in 2025.
Once I think the appetite for growth is being reflected as far as your market cap is concerned, and we've seen the markets reward that. But you were talking about R&D and the focus on R&D. Let me understand from you, what is the percentage of R&D spends at this point in time? How do you create a culture of maximizing on your R&D returns? What are you doing differently today? Because you also talked about the fact that how there was distractions that caused you to lose your way in the middle, but the focus is now sharply back on skincare. So how have you been able to do that?
That's a great question. In terms of investment, we spend 3% of our sales in R&D, which is the best in class. If you look at L'Oréal, they are exactly the same figures. So really, investing big and over there, and we never question these figures. Even in difficult years, I know the COVID year 2020, we spent 3% of our net sales in R&D. I think what we have done is to refocus first the R&D on this search for outstanding ingredients. Moving away from perhaps what we call marketing innovation, which is more concept and claims, into true R&D discovery of new ingredients, and then being sure that we leverage them, on all our brands. We call that brand cascading. With the same ingredient, you can have a totally different formula and totally different story on Nivea, on Eucerin, on La Prairie and Chantecaille. And it's a pity, to use only one brand to leverage one ingredient. So we've been doing that with Thiamidol, which has been launched under Eucerin, Nivea, La Prairie, and next month we'll launch it under Chantecaille. We'll do that also with Epicelline, and all our countries, all our business units are focusing most of the investment on the products, which are using those new ingredients, because this is where we make the difference, and this is pretty paying off.
Well, renewed focus on using new ingredients, many of which you have patented. We are going to take a quick break, but don't go back anywhere. We're going to be back on the Global Dialogue and talk about Beiersdorf, the Nivea maker pipeline, looking for you at this point in time. What can we expect? And in India, the launch of Luminous, which is the new brand, what do you expect to do with that?
I'll be in India.
Only 29 rupees today, includes 50 plus maths top tricks, 50 plus science core concepts. Come and learn.
The launch of Luminous, which is this new franchise, I think is really a revolution. We're going to move, I say, from a brand that Indians love and into a brand that they praise for the efficacy. Really, there is not a more interesting category than face care. This is really when you prove the efficacy of your ingredient, when you prove the efficacy of your R&D, and this Luminous range that you will start to see everywhere in India will be, I think, a strong moment of pride for the company and for Nivea. And then we have Eucerin. We are entering, this derma market. We are one of the first global brands, entering the Indian derma market. That you have in India 12,000 dermatologists. It is as many as in full Europe. And we are expecting those dermatologists to welcome Eucerin, to welcome this new Thiamidol ingredient. We have the Dermacon this week in India, where we're going to meet 7,000 out of the 12,000 dermatologists. So it's a fantastic opportunity. We're starting to talk with them. So also I think Beiersdorf will become a referent company for dermatologists. And this is essential for Beiersdorf. This is, everything started by, a famous Professor Una, who was the dermatologist, working on the formula. And last but not least, we are super excited by the launch of La Prairie and Chantecaille. We struggled in the past because you didn't have a lot of department store, and we used to be very offline, very linked to department store. And now with all the new e-commerce players you have in India, starting with Nykaa, we have a great opportunity to make this luxury brand also accessible, and not only offline but also online. So I'm expecting a lot from India. I mean, we have a business which is still small for us. It's 2% of the total sales of Beiersdorf, but I have a strong appetite. I think seeing India becoming a 500 million euro business for us, in the coming years, is not a dream, and it's something I really want to achieve. And also learning from Indian consumers. The fact that we have this R&D facility in Mumbai, and they are responsible for the global skin of color research. So every time we are developing a specific formula for black skin, for Asian skin, for Indian skin, this is developed in Mumbai. It's also a fantastic business accelerator, not only for India, but for the rest of the world. So really a big hope for India. helping us being better also, not only in India, but also at the global level.
So Wansa, you said that 2% of global revenues currently is what you get from India, and you hope to take that number to 500 million euros over the next few years. Would it be fair to assume that that could be within the next 5 years?
That's my objective. That's the objective I will give to our general manager.
Right.
All right, so this video basically has been showcased because it puts a face to the brand, and to say that this German company, for them, India is a very important market, right? So while they've been testing their products in more European, in Western markets, so to say, but then India contributes 2% of their market share, and they want to take it higher. And they found loopholes further, just like I was talking about loopholes in the market in terms of, uh, you know, beauty related to underarm beauty, how that is considered as a mark or a standard of beauty, right, by women themselves. And then creating a product uh, a solution uh, for this problem, so to say, um, which is a personalized product, right? It's easy on the skin, etc. Right. So now from there we look at the other marketing aspects, which is pricing it for the Indian market or for the global market, promoting it, right? So he talks of promoting and selling through Nika in India, right? They have a tie-up now, or departmental stores, and reaching out through chemist shops, etc., by targeting dermatologists. So creams like Eucerin, which can be seen as more clinical, more medicinal in nature, to be targeted through dermatologists. So now once you understand the consumer, their needs, right, you empathize with them. Right? In this case, underarm beauty was overlooked by a lot of brands, beauty brands. But here you're being empathetic, you're being inclusive. That, yeah, okay, if this is the problem, let's empathize with this problem and create a product for it. Likewise, in Indian market, he says globally it's a 40% problem, but in India it's a 60% problem that people suffer from acne. Right? So here's the market opportunity. Rather than treating it with disgust or with saying that's a very difficult market, you be more inclusive towards it. A related example to this is that of when we look at products for curly hair. For the longest time, women have been told that if you have curly hair, specifically in tropical countries and countries like India, women tend to have curly hair because of the climate, genes, etc. They've been told you can straighten your hair, right? So the salons made a quick buck selling straightening treatments and products that help you to straighten your hair till the entire country starts looking very homogenized in terms of having straight hair, right? But suddenly, you realize that you're going to lose this market. Why? Because women are going to lose hair. It's not ethical. It's not a very long-term sustainable solution to keep straightening hair. It's expensive. It's not conducive to health. Uh, People doing the treatment is bad for them. It's carcinogenic in nature. So what do? A new market was developed there by being empathetic, by telling that curly hair is beautiful. And now you look at the market and see how many curly hair products are there in the market. How many brands are there? What are the steps involved in curly hair routine? At least 5 steps, I think. For that, you need a different product. And now you look at the size of the market and you look at a new brand entering to the market every few months, specifically for curly hair, for Indian women, curly dark hair. Right? So it starts with being empathetic towards, being inclusive towards your target audience, looking at a sustainable solution, finding a gap, and then changing attitude or forming a positive attitude by telling a brand story. Right? So this is exactly what Nivea did. Now moving to the communication or the advertising research part, which is a sub part of your market research. It presented ideas in the form of storyboards of what a TV advertisement would look like. The objective was to evaluate which were the best ideas in terms of did they stand out as exciting or different? Were they relevant to the consumer? Did they communicate the right things about the new product? Did they persuade the consumer to want to purchase it? So if you look at these questions, they reflect the IDA model of communication, which is catching their attention, right? Creating an interest, evoking a desire, and eventually call for action, making them purchase the product. IDA model. Attention, interest, desire, action. Right? And how does this work? By communicating. By communicating, you bring about a change in attitude, which should result in change in behavior. Attitude towards the roll-on, deodorants, and behavior going purchasing and using the product. Right? So evaluating success. Now, once the product is launched and the consumer has actually purchased it, the research process does not stop. Continuous consumer tracking can be carried out to find out consumers' views of the new product. This involves interviewing people every day to find out whether they are using the product, what they think of it, and why they would purchase it. So BuyerSoft uses other secondary data sources such as consumer panels and electronic point of sale, EPOS data, which is your database data at the time, transactional data basically. These monitor the sales effectiveness of the product throughout the launch phase and through the product life cycle. Right? So again, we come back to design thinking, how this was done by being empathetic. Right? In your SLM, I have other case studies as well that talk about design thinking and how research is done. I have given examples of Airbnb, IDEO, Apple, right? So in the case study questions, you would have questions such as these. They're also a part of some of the MCQs. If I give you a small case study based upon, like a case scenario based upon this case study, you should be able to answer these questions, right? So all of this is a part of the SLM here. You can have a look at it in the SLM as well. So I was talking about this from the SLM. Now, to sum up this case study and to connect the Indian market to what BuyerSoft is doing in the global market, I have another case study of understanding culture, consumer attitudes, motivations, and how products are developed in the market.
So, what kind partner do you look for?
Female.
Female? Man, he's so picky.
So, what kind of a partner are you looking for?
I am looking for somebody who's Aquarius because I am Sagittarius plus Cancer. I want my wife to have a doctor's degree and also be content creator with at least 100k followers.
So, you want her to be your business partner?
No. I want her to be a nice housewife. In dowry, I'm thinking of a Mercedes Benz or something like that. Also, almost forgot, I want her to have a blue tick.
Oh, do you have one?
No.
Did you know, a few centuries ago, the idea of what makes a man and woman good looking was way different from what we see today. Ancient Greeks believed perfect proportions and symmetry were the key to a perfect face. Victorians thought tiny rosebud lips were beauty's quintessential element, contrary to sensuous mouths admired today. But the real question is, who decides what looks good and what looks bad? Why is a fairer skin tone preferred over darker skin tones? Why is acne, receding hairline demonized by the society? And most importantly, why is our Instagram filled with so many brands selling us promises of better looking, better version of ourselves? I am Achina Maya and I'm going to deep dive into the men's and women's beauty and personal care industry and what makes it so lucrative. Let me take you all back in time. The ever-changing standards of beauty are not accidental. They're actually a reflection of the power structure in our society. What is considered an attractive face is often influenced by people who rule the society. While the distribution of natural beauty is a democratic genetic process, the beauty standards are quite the opposite. Appearance has always been a crucial source of differentiation for those with privilege who use their wealth to communicate their social status and set themselves apart from those without. One thing that we all need to understand is we humans are hardwired to play the status game. Back in the Stone Age, increased status meant access to better partners, more food, and greater safety for our children. It is a game of human life, and us humans are extraordinarily imaginary creatures who use almost anything to symbolize status. From our house, Twitter followers, the brand of a watch, the shape of a stomach, or the way we look. In India, the definition of beauty changed when the Britishers came and colonized the nation. And then came Westernization, which solidified the idea of Eurocentric features as the gold standard. Lighter skin tones, idea that blue eyes are more desirable than dark hair and brown eyes, that long slim figures are more attractive than curved figures, spread across the nation. With Bollywood, media and all Indian households further propagating the Gora Rang, Chitiya Kalaiyan and whatnot, we are conditioned to think that a person can only be attracted if they have a certain color, certain height, and a certain size. And we are made to feel inferior if we don't fit those standards. Over the past decade, the amount of money spent on beauty, achieving it and retaining it has increased significantly. And of course, where there's demand, there's capital and investor money. And where there's money to be made, businesses of all sizes start popping up to grab the opportunity. The Indian beauty and personal care market is now the 8th largest in the world with a total value of $15 billion. And it's expected to become $30 billion by 2025. But the question is, what makes beauty so lucrative? It's an industry which can have insanely high margins of up to 60 to 70%. As Kunal Shah rightly states, where there's a deep desire to jump social status, there are margins. There are products that make you efficient. There are products that unlock status. Then there are products that make it efficient to unlock status. Gross margins follow this path.
सरोजा, देखो करेला कितने में मिला? 2 रुपए में मिला। मेरे से तो 3 रुपए लिया उसने। अच्छा, सब्जी मंडी वाले ने ना लूट मचा रखी है। हाँ।
5 minutes later.
भैया, कुछ नया प्रोडक्ट आया है क्या?
ओ या मैम, ये देखिए हमारे पास नई क्रीम आई है। ये आपकी स्किन को चमचमाती स्मूथ कर देगी। ये क्रीम हम लोग स्पेशली फ्रांस की क्वीन के कुएं से लेके आए हैं मैम।
कितने का होगा भैया ये?
ये मैम सिर्फ 20,000 रुपए का है।
इतना सस्ता? ये लो भैया।
Makeup, expensive skincare, hair care, these are all status products, much like an Apple iPhone. This industry went through a massive shift during the last 2 years due to the pandemic. A lot of beauty brands were pushed to embrace the e-commerce side, and they had to think of new creative ways to promote their products and adapt to a digital-first mindset. They had to figure, how do we sell products if the customers can't swatch or sample these products in stores? The straightforward answer to this was producing enhanced content by collaborating with skinfluencers and increasing ad spend. The digital ad spending in the skin industry increased threefold, and online beauty sales were expected to hit a record 23% increase by the end of 2021. The marketing tactics became more refined than ever. They use platforms like Instagram to show the youth what ideal skin, ideal hair should look like. Morning skincare routines, evening skincare routines, 10-step hair care routines, it was never ending. But the strategy worked, and as more time passed, more and more products were invented. Through the years, companies have created demons out of oily skin, dry skin, dandruff, acne, blackheads, spots. It's endless.
Madam, myself MBA skin doctor wala. What is the problem today?
Oh, free consultation skin?
Yes, today is free consultation day. So do light.
Oh, my wedding in 1 week, sir. So just some tips.
Madam, one problem is there, madam. Your skin is too oily, madam. One product I recommend. This product, Chodu Blender. This product you put inside 3 times a day. You put application, everything will be fine.
Day 2.
Sir, skin sir पूरा dry हो गया, sir.
Calm down. Chodu light. Indeed, your skin has become a dry. I give you one new product. This will make your skin oily. Okay, Chodu blender. You put 3 drops in blender, apply on face. Everything will be all right, balanced.
Day 3.
Calm down. Chodu light. Oh yes, actually your skin is on fire now. So you need a skincare routine. Chodu blender. So you will need to take first this product. Okay, put it inside. Then you have to take this Karela, put it inside. Then you have to take this Maggi. You have to cut it like this and put it inside. Then you have to take Fevicol like this, put it inside. And then finally you have to take a skeleton and put it inside.
One of the biggest scams is the men's hair care industry. Hair is closely associated with youthfulness and masculinity in men, so it's no surprise that hair loss can make many men feel self-conscious. So brands exploit this and use this to sell you anything and everything in the hope of a head full of hair. Here's a little science for you, okay? A very common type of hair loss in men is called male pattern baldness. And unlike most forms of hair loss, which cause temporary shedding, male pattern baldness causes permanent loss of your hair. So how it works is, there's a chemical in your body called testosterone. So this testosterone produces a byproduct called dihydrotestosterone or DHT. This DHT, it attaches to the receptors located throughout your scalp and causes your hair follicles to gradually become smaller and smaller over time, and the hair follicle closes, basically causing permanent balding. The rate of conversion of testosterone to DHT is predetermined by your genes. Some people have the gene for very high DHT and you lose all your hair by 30-40. So until you're using the correct treatment to combat this DHT attached to your hair follicles or addressing the root causes that accelerate the process, nothing is going to make a difference. And this whole hair process, right, it's split into 7 stages. So if you're between the stage 5 to 7, no company or product can help you. The only real option is hair transplant. So don't listen to ads that tell you otherwise. Anybody with real hair fall issues who has tried these products knows that these products don't work. Even when you're in early stages of hair fall, you have to get to the root cause of it and treat it accordingly instead of blindly taking random products from random brands. Saying that if you have skin issues or hair issues, don't treat it. Of course, you must. But it's our job to educate, and we don't want all of you to be misled. We want you to make informed decisions. A physician once said this: commercial sellers to remove the oil from our skin with soap and then moisturize it with lotion. Evolutionarily, why would we be so disgusting that we need constant cleaning and constant moisturizing and constant de-oiling? You need to realize your body and
Madam,
skin
video
have
hang
withstood
ready. Video
millions.
no running. Please replay, madam.
Sorry?
No, the video hang actually.
I've stopped it, sir.
Oh, okay, okay. Because the audio only running few minutes actually. The video was hanged.
Okay, okay. No problem, sir. Anyway, it's ended, sir. All right. This takes us back to one of the key discussion sessions is that the beauty habits are determined by the people who have the power to create beauty standards. Okay. So, in the first unit of the SLM, also you can check where
Madam, your voice breaking, madam. Please check the internet connection.
is it audible now, sir?
Audible, madam, but still breaking the voice.
Yes, sir. I've checked the internet. I'll continue. Let's see.
Okay.
Please give me a moment. Okay, so with this discussion on Nivea and the beauty brand business, I'll take you back to what we had discussed earlier, just to put things into perspective, where while we are doing quantitative research or empirical research, where we're looking at data to quantify, uh, you know, what decisions we're making or to have informed decisions, right? To begin with, we have started with the paradigms of thought. They help us to understand whether we're looking at only statistical data in order to make business decisions and to turn around business, or we're looking at also insights.
Madam, you're not audible, madam.
Or we're looking at insights and hence qualitative data, right? So, in order to find insights about culture, attitude, motivations, perception, etc., we need qualitative data. And in that case, we need to question the status quo. As was mentioned also in this video on beauty, that most of us would follow, a command that given without questioning the status quo. Now, specifically with regards to leaders and managers in business, if we do not question the status quo, we are unable to do new product development or to find new ways of communicating this about the product, right? So we need to determine the vantage point or the paradigm from where we are looking at a problem of a business. In that, I've discussed regarding positivism, constructivism, and postmodernism. Now, these are the kind of questions you can also expect in your internal assessment. There are direct questions on what is positivism, what is critical thought, and postmodernism, and some examples of what kind of questions are there in the SLM as well. Right? So you'll get fair enough.
Madam, your voice is breaking and sometimes totally no audible, madam. Please restart the modem, the Wi-Fi modem.
Restart WhatsApp.
Oh, the Wi-Fi modem, something your connection is bad actually. The Wi-Fi connection.
Is this connection better, sir?
Yeah, continue, madam. Let me check.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, yes, madam.
All right. So continuing with what we were discussing earlier, uh, here are examples of product design with regards to culture, gender, and also looking at how these would then be communicated, right? I've also given an explanation of uh, what blends function and aesthetics, right? So why does a Fanta PET bottle need to be in this particular shape? Why does it need to have ridges on its surface, right? So while it is aesthetically pleasing in a certain way, it also works very well in terms of its function. It showcases the logo very easily. And then we come to the design aspect of companies like Apple, which are known for R&D targeted at coming up with better designs all the time. Right? adding to my examples for today's session, we look at the case of Airbnb. Airbnb sought to enhance the user experience and increase trust amongst hosts and guests in its online platform for short-term accommodations, right? So they came up with research, with design thinking, is that Airbnb of its users through research, through empathy, which is the first stage of design thinking. Empathy interviews, user observation, journey mapping in terms of how the product is used, when is it bought, and how is it disposed of? Is it disposed of or not? Right? And the similar, while this is offline, can be online as well. Okay. So through empathy interviews, user observation, and journey mapping, the company gained insights into motivations, concerns, and preferences of hosts and guests. Based on these insights, Airbnb introduced features such as verified profiles, user reviews, and professional photography services to enhance trust and transparency. Additionally, the company redesigned its website and mobile apps. This is where actually the digital journey of the consumer comes in. The ease of booking, the ease of looking at properties, and the ease of marketing these properties. So they redesigned their website and mobile app to improve usability and facilitate seamless booking experiences. So the outcome was, by embracing design thinking principles, Airbnb transformed the hospitality industry, empowered individuals to monetize their properties, and provided travelers with a unique and personalized accommodation option, right? So this becomes a inclusive, sustainable solution, right? Which is pocket friendly, which gives you the real taste of the space, the place that you are, as a tourist that you're visiting, and it gives you privacy, right? The second is that of IDO, a leading design and innovation consultancy, was tasked with designing a patient experience in a hospital emergency department to reduce wait times and improve satisfaction. So IDEO employed a design thinking approach to uncover insights and identify opportunities for improvement. The team conducted interviews with patients, caregivers, and hospital staff to understand their pain points and challenges. Through rapid prototyping and iterative testing, IDEO developed innovative solutions such as digital check-in system, right? Quite similar to Digi Yatra, like we do it these days on the airport. It helps you to skip lines. It helps you. It helps different people in different ways, right? You can quickly go and access your lounge if you have lounge facility. You can spend more time doing things you want to do. Probably work on your laptop, not stand in the queue for a very long time. Similarly, IDEO used digital check-in systems, modular exam rooms, and personalized care plans. These solutions aimed to streamline the patient journey, increase efficiency, and enhance communication between patients and healthcare providers. The outcome, by applying design thinking principles, IDEO revolutionized the patient experience in the emergency department, resulting in significant reductions in wait times, improved patient satisfaction scores, a higher staff morale, and the hospital's adoption of these innovative solutions not only led to better outcomes for patients, but also demonstrated the potential of design thinking to drive transformation and healthcare delivery. Next is Apple. Apple sought to create a revolutionary product that would disrupt the mobile phone market and redefine the way people communicate and interact with technology. So Apple embraced a design thinking approach to develop the iPhone, a groundbreaking smartphone that combined cutting edge technology, and the rest is history the way we know it. The company conducted extensive research And something very importantly that they did in terms of communicating about the product was create product evangelists. Apple products are first marketed to in-house stakeholders, which is the employees. It, it generates instant interest and credibility that if people themselves who work there use these products, it must be a good product. It's kind of insider information, right? So through iterative prototyping and user testing, Apple redefined the iPhone's design features and functionalities to create a seamless, intuitive device that revolutionized the mobile industry. The iPhone's launch in 2007 marked a turning point in the history of technology, setting new standards, and basically it demonstrates empathy, creativity, experimentation, and how basically companies can use product development strategies for business turnaround. And along with this goes, parallel to this, we see leadership. Right? That was actually a starting point for this course. How we track leadership along with product development, business turnaround strategies, etc. Right? So I'll conclude today's class with another video on leadership and Apple. Please give me a moment. Okay, there is an issue in sharing because of low bandwidth. We'll probably take that up in the next class. I'll continue the discussion. All right. I just introduce the topic for discussion in our next class. We're looking at business stabilization and financial operations. In this, I'll be taking a few case studies, that of GE in the next class, General Electric and their financial turnaround strategies. Right? To understand this, business stabilization refers to the process of regaining control over a company's operations and finances to ensure its short-term survival. Stabilizing a business requires multifaceted approach. And in that, we're going to be looking at financial operations stabilization approach and how that becomes the bedrock to recovery, which means we're looking at business turnaround. A company's financial health and financial operations encompass everything from cash flow management to debt restructuring and cost control. In times of distress, stabilizing financial operations is the first priority. For that, we look at a couple of statements in the next class. We look at cash flow management. Cash flow is the lifeblood of a business in terms of understanding if the business has enough and sufficient liquidity to make day-to-day payments or short-term payments such as payroll, supplier payments, debt servicing, etc. The second is cash flow forecasting. Develop detailed cash flow forecast to predict future cash needs. These forecasts should be updated regularly, and any anticipated shortfalls should also be communicated. Second is accelerating receivables. Expedite the collection of accounts receivable. Third is optimizing payables. A company's net promoter score or employer's branding depends upon how quickly payments are done, right? So optimizing payables has to be on time, and there should be enough data available to understand the payable status for the next few months, right? From there, we move to inventory management. Reducing excess inventory can free up cash tied in a stock. Implementing just in time can also be helpful in financial turnaround. Then there is cost control and reduction. In this, we'll be looking at non-essential expenses, restructuring fixed costs, negotiating suppliers and downsizing. The next will be debt restructuring and refinancing. And in this case, I'll be taking up the case study of General Electric. Here, we look at negotiating with creditors, debt consolidation, seeking alternative financing, debt to equity swap, and further, how stabilization can be operationalized through financial control, through operations such as lean management, automation, supply chain, energy resource efficiency, and workforce management, right? So I'll stop today's discussion here. If anyone has a question, they can ask me now.
Madam, today the video you played 2, 3 videos, right? Could you share the link on the chat box?
Sorry?
Today the example of the Nivea.
Yeah, that will be in the PPT itself. All the PPTs that you're getting, the links
Okay.
are shared in that.
Okay, then okay, madam.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, madam. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Any other questions from anyone? All right, fine. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.